Have we heard from Hal?
Okay. One more thing. Okay. So okay, whenever you're ready, Phil.
You're muted, Phil.
Hey, Phil, you're still muted.
I know. I'm sorry. If everybody else who actually has their mic open, I was getting feedback before, and I think it's from. So please make sure your mic is off unless you need to be speaking during the course of the meeting. Okay, sorry about that. This is the Town of Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting agenda, meeting for Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020, taking place remotely via the Zoom platform. And we are calling the meeting into order at 7:03 p.m. Present tonight are myself, Philip Allen, John Pollock, Aubrey English, alternate Paul Marino, and alternate David Carter, both of whom will be seated for tonight's hearing. And Hal Wilkes is absent, no excuse. So there's that. I believe everyone who's here has been before us before. But just in case you're not familiar with our procedure, we call the specific application hearing, and the applicant has the opportunity at that point to make a presentation for their project. The board will have the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant, and then once we're done with our questions, we would open the floor to anyone from the community who wishes to speak to the application. Once that's done, the applicant gets the final word, and we close the hearing. Then the board will have a further discussion as necessary and vote. To get a application approved, you must have 4 of the 5 board members vote in favor of the application. If it's not a simple majority on our board. So just so you know, if 2 people oppose it, it won't go through. So, and the only other thing to mention is that if there is discussion, especially when if there's discussion coming from anyone from the public, questions should be addressed to me, through me, to whomever the question is, needs an answer. So should that come up, we very well may not. So Therefore, let us open now zoning board of appeals application 20-5257 for a special exception for 408 East Wakefield Boulevard. And Mr. Beecher is here on behalf of the owners.
Just before you get started, Phil, for the record, the legal ad was run in the Republican American on November 11th and November 17th. At that time, it was notified, Town of Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at the regular meeting on November 24th, 2020 at 7 p.m. to be held via Zoom to act on the following. And there was a variance from last month. And then the subject special exception this evening, B, ZBA 20-5257, special exception, location 408 East Wakefield Boulevard. Applicant Mark Beecher, owner Robert J. Burney and Patricia L. Burney, trustees, the Robert J. and Patricia Burney Trust. Proposal, second floor, 279 square foot addition to existing cottage. And then application is getting continued on 504 East. Meetings are live streamed on YouTube at the following, and it provides the address. Directed parties interested in participating during the meeting should email pcolumbia@townofwinchester.org ahead of the meeting. Questions and or comments may be emailed to that address. Interested parties may appear and be heard. Dated this 10th day of November 2020, Philip Allen, Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals. The meeting ID and passcode is carried on the agenda, and that's true for all of our land use meetings. So for the record, this application was advertised for the November meeting, but it had been continued. The certificate of mail providing evidence that notice was sent to the abutting property owners has been received for the record.
Okay. So technically we are reopening the hearing that was continued for ZBA application 20-5257. So, Mr. Beecher.
All right, well, very good. Thanks. Hi, everybody. So I'm here with architect Michael Bowe and also the engineer Dennis McMorrow, Berkshire Engineering. So as Pam explained, what we'd like to do is to add the second story to the existing structure in the exact footprint that exists today. And that's why we're before you for a special permit, as I understand. But simply, that's all we asking for.
Does anyone have any questions from the board?
Just give me a moment. I'm unmuting John Pollock because I think the feedback was coming from him.
Okay.
Did anyone need plans or drawings pulled up? Just for the record, the applicant received approval from the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission on December 16th. Was it December 16th or December 3rd? Was it last week or was it a couple of weeks ago, Mark?
A couple weeks, I think.
Oh, so it was December 3rd then. Yep.
John?
Okay, I had a couple of questions. Just looking at the, just looking at the drawings. Could you tell me roughly what is the size of the existing building now, the square footage?
The section that is that we're working with is, I believe, 200. Mike can answer that better. 279 square feet. Is that right, Mike?
How much was that again? I didn't quite hear you.
I think it's 279 square feet. Mike, I think, has the drawing, but Mike, I think you're muted at the moment. Can't hear you, Mike. I think the
Yeah,
bottom left
he's probably trying to unmute.
bottom left corner of the screen, I think, is the, if you put your cursor on the picture there.
Yeah, what I would like to do is do you want to share with me?
I did. Yep. So if you
Okay.
wanna, yep.
So I just hit that share screen.
Have the window pulled up that you actually want to share. And then yes, hit the share screen and click on the window and then bottom right.
Okay,
I just
I
like,
I guess my question was, are you gonna answer the question, Mike?
He's pulling up the screen.
I was pulling up the
Okay.
screen here. Basically, I've got a little confusion here because my screen is not allowing me to
I know, there's nothing like working on these things, I'll tell you that.
it's just I'll tell you on A1, if you look at A1, it has the square footage down there in the right-hand corner.
Yes, but my question is, what is the old square footage of the building, and what will the new total square footage of the building be after this gets done?
We're around 600 square feet, and we're less than 900 when it's done.
And you're gonna be putting up a second floor?
Yeah, what we're doing basically, I'm going to take you into some photos.
Yes.
Does that come up, Pam?
No. We have patience.
Yeah, it's not going to, the photos of the building aren't going to come up.
If you want to email them to me, if you can do that quick. I know, nothing's easy.
Hang on here 1 second. I'm going to get my wife.
So this is my screen that I'm pulling up. He had said to pull up, was it
Right.
A1 or A2?
I think you said A1.
No, here it is. Is it this?
Yes, that's the square footage we're looking for.
Right?
Okay.
Here, I'm gonna stop Mike and if you wanna.
Did you get the square footage there off of that drawing?
It was A2, right? Sheet A2.
Yeah, A1, A2, I think has the square footages on it. I can't get these pictures to come in.
Doesn't actually tell us what it is now versus what it's going to be, I don't think, but it's, the square footage is showing as,
But the first floor A1 would show the existing square footage.
There you go, Mike.
Okay. What we're basically doing is, if on A1, it should have the square footage of the first floor. That's existing square footage.
so
Right,
this
and how much-
575 square feet the way it sits.
I'm sorry?
The current building is 575
75, yes.
square feet according to A1 as it
Right.
sits.
We're adding on to, if you follow my cursor, we're adding on a second story over this portion of the building. We're not adding on to this. We're keeping the structure under 900 square feet.
So you're adding 276, if I understand that correctly, right?
Yes,
Yeah, that'd be the second floor.
yes.
So I think that answers John's question.
That answers my question, but just looking at the drawing, you said that the total amount is going to be 900 square feet.
Less than 900.
Is there a reason we're shooting for less than 900, or?
Well, that keeps us on the land. Can you bring it up?
Just a second.
I guess my other question is just going down there and looking at the building structure as it stands and the amount of land that you have on the lot that is vacant. Why would you want to build an addition onto this small piece of property versus moving it back and not being right on the water? I have a problem understanding why you're trying to just I guess piggyback a second floor on this house while you have so much land in the other part of the the other part of your acreage. You have over, I guess, 1 acre of land there.
Yes, around an acre of land.
Yeah.
What do you plan to do anything else with the other piece of property, or
You want to address that, Mark?
Yeah, I'd glad to. Sure. So, John, I guess the biggest thing is this is a place to start. We started a few years ago with saving the structure as the piers underneath the living room section that is out basically over the water were in disrepair, and we repaired that. And the owner, Mr. Bernie, this was his childhood, not home, but place he and his father and grandfather went to. So they wanted to save the structure and make it into something that they can use. So that's how it all got started. So as far as other plans for the property, who knows, but they wanted to save this structure because of its sentimental value for one. And as you can see by the pictures that Mike had shown, some of the work that are front of the structure has already been done, and they liked it so much that they thought it would be one, nice for the lake to have a better view of a fixed up property than what was there, and two, have something to come to when they visit Connecticut, as they're outside of Connecticut at this time. So I don't know, does that answer your question, John, at all?
Everybody came before us on this project in June, and I think in June there was a bigger footprint you were trying to do. Is that?
That is correct. We wanted to do a larger home at the water, but for the reasons John brings up, is the parcel is large enough to support another home. It was decided that what we would do is ask for special permit just to add the second floor, as we understood was we would be able to do with a special permit to stay within the guidelines that were put to us.
Part of the reason that we're not going over the area here and doing the second story is that area is over the lake. And inland wetlands pretty much indicated they didn't want us building in that area. Right now, everything is beyond. This is where the wall runs through. It comes back and kind of bends back in this direction. The lake wall.
So you're saying wetlands didn't want a second story added to the part that's over the water? Is that?
They didn't sound like they'd be in favor of doing that.
But they approved this plan.
Yes.
One of the problems that I have with this plan is it's right on the lake, and just using common sense, I don't know if we use that anymore, is if you have a piece of property like a huge lot like you have, which is over an acre, and you have a space to put an existing put a new building up like everybody else does. I don't understand why we have to be so close to the lake and endanger the lake with runoff. And I sure he went to the wetlands and they approved everything. But just thinking from living up here for many years, if this gets approved, we're going to be seeing just about everybody else building right on the edge of the lake, coming up with some other idea. I don't really see a hardship here.
You don't need. They don't need.
We don't
to
need a
show
hardship.
that.
I know that.
No,
Right?
no.
No, we don't.
So,
Okay.
John,
Yes.
John, if I could answer that,
Mhm.
from my perspective anyway, I think part of what we're seeing here is that this already exists.
Right.
And so not asking to build a new structure on the water, which obviously wouldn't be necessary with the lot size being there, but it's already here. And right, but
we're going to be going up on the second floor.
Yeah, it's going to be taller. That's all. That's the only difference.
Yes, right.
Mark, I have another question too. So And if I look at the pictures the pictures that were up there, the current footprint where you want to add the second floor sits on piers, right?
That's correct.
No,
The
we're putting
current,
the foundation under this.
So you're gonna tear that down and dig a foundation there, correct?
that's
Yes,
correct.
Because it's on piers now, is that right?
The piers that it sits on now are basically unusable.
Right.
So they have to be removed. So we're going to take the structure apart, put a proper frost wall foundation in, and then build the structure back in place.
Well, you are gonna dig a foundation within a few feet of the seawall. If I'm looking at that picture on the left.
Part of the seawall.
That's correct.
Right.
We won't be coming in contact with the seawall. That corner, if you look at the picture on your far left, that right there, that'd be the corner of the foundation of the new frost wall foundation.
as you can see it, as you go across this thing.
Pam, do we have any engineering going along with this?
Yes, and just while you're talking about that part of it, they can do that by right. They can tear down and rebuild what's there by right. So really, the scope of the project is, the fact that they're adding a second floor. That's what they need the special exception for, not to demo that first floor, nor to add a foundation. It's the second floor that requires approval of a special exception. And Dave, to answer your question, the engineer is on the call if you had a question for him.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
If I may, let me ask you a couple questions as well, too. First of all, the property owner lives across the country in California, correct?
That is correct.
How often do you know if they are back here in this part of the country? I mean, are they like every year or once, a couple times a year?
Good question. So in the past many years, they rarely came out. In the last couple of years, I would say they were back here 5 or 6 times.
In the past year, 5 or 6 times?
Not in the past year, in the past couple, 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
They came back, they came out and cleaned everything up and had us do a lot of groundwork and repairing of piers under the first section and siding and windows. So they are taking, renewed interest in the property. And like I said, it was a childhood place for the owner, Robert Burney. And they're very interested in having us do it. Mr. Burney is 81 years old and would love to spend time here while he can. And so the family is interested in, getting it done and making it look beautiful. So it's good looking for the neighbors and people on the lake and them as well. So
I'm gathering here. I mean, I'm not asking, I know it's not a variance here, but what I'm asking is basically they're probably planning on visiting the place more with family and they're needing more room. That's probably why the second floor is being proposed. Am I correct?
Yeah, I would think so. They have another family member, Tom Burney, the son, lives in Colorado, and he's been out several times too. And they plan on coming out more. So that's their hope.
Thank you. No problem. One more question I have, I guess, is directed to Pam too. Have we heard from any neighbors as to any objections or support for this project?
No, neither.
Okay. Thank you.
Pam, I have a couple of more questions. Could you just leave that picture up? My big question would be, I have 2 questions. First of all, how old is this house as we see it now? When was it built? Do we have an idea?
I'm not really sure if you have any idea.
1940, according to the postcard.
Okay, 1940. So if it was 1940, that's like 80 years ago.
Yeah.
If there was no house there and it was just an empty lot, would we approve anything like this in the year 2020? would we be able to build a house that looks just like this?
Are you asking, does it meet the zoning
I'm
regulations?
just asking the committee. I mean, if you look at it, it's right over the lake. And the purpose of the zoning board is to, I guess, to make some decisions to protect the lake and to make sure that some of these future plans are just not wishful plans. They have to have some kind of something to preserve the lake. To me, this is something that I would have a hard time sleeping on at night if I approved it, especially the way that it hangs over the water. And especially when you have like an acre of land and you could move the house and put it in some other location. To me, this is, I know what the rules say and how the laws are, but we're supposed to sometimes go a little deeper than that when we make our approval or we make our decision not to approve it.
So may I add something, John?
Sure.
So we went before, of course, inland wetlands and zoning board of appeals before and got approval, and the owner spent quite a lot of money repairing the piers and fixing up the part that is over the lake. So that we were already given approval to spend money on the property. So it would be a shame to, at this point, look back and say we shouldn't have. You know what I mean?
Yes, but that's not one of the reasons why something is approved, from my understanding. Just because just because you spend money on it and you want to go forward on it.
Right.
We have to look at
what I meant is that we spent money on it, they spent money on it, but only based on the approval that the board gave us. We didn't do it without approval. We did it with approval.
So
and how long ago was that?
2000, I think it might be
17?
Yeah.
17 or 18?
There was two phases. One was the piers underneath
Yeah.
the structure, and then
Right.
then I think 18, 19 we put the siding and windows and stuff on it. So just last year that was done.
I think so that we can really get a good picture here. Can you put that picture back up that was just there?
This one? Is that coming up?
No, you had a photo up of this of the I guess let me say the south. We get my
Let me
bearings.
see if
the
I can.
south or the east elevation, I think.
It's coming up on mine, but it's not coming up in here. I don't know if that's because Pam is not sharing with me
No,
now.
you can. I wouldn't do that to you.
The picture you just had up, where we were looking at it from, I guess,
Yeah.
the east side, and I'm looking at A5 on your drawing, which I think is the proposed from the same view. And I think if everybody on the board can see that picture again and then look at that elevation, it really gives you a good idea of how transformative this project will be. I happen to have the luxury of a giant computer screen, so I can have the drawing on the left and the picture on the right.
Bragging.
Yeah.
Mike, I withdrew it and then I prompted you again. So, I mean, I can pull up the plans because those have been submitted. Have the
Right.
pictures been submitted?
No, the pictures have not been submitted.
Because either way, you're going to give those to me tomorrow if you would email them.
Let me get my wife again. See if she
Yeah,
can-
and in the meantime, I'll pull up Paul, you're saying A5?
A5 is a match to that photo that he just had up.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives everybody, so there's what, from that, looking at that photo they just had, this is what it would be from that angle. So you've got,
Right.
You got the second floor, you got a dormer up here.
Yes, full shed dormer.
Yep. I mean, it's a big change to that little boathouse.
It sure is. And then the other question I had, it says on A1, it's gonna be a rebuild over a new foundation. What does that mean? A rebuild over a new foundation?
Well, what we're doing is we're rebuilding this first floor and putting a second floor on top of it.
John, they're going to tear down that original section, put a foundation, and then put a 2-story structure on the foundation, I think is the easiest way to describe it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
On the existing footprint.
Yeah, right. They're not changing the footprint.
Right.
But you're putting in a new foundation and you're not using the old foundation then, right?
Right, the old foundation is unsuitable.
Yes.
Can we try to bring up that picture again?
Right.
Yep, I stopped share, so now you have the ability if you want
Can you bring
I don't know if the other members of the board have a printed copy of the drawings or are able to look at A5 at the same time, but at least it'll give you a good feel for really what they're proposing here.
to.
Right,
The drawings are
I
uploaded
do
to the
have-
website too, if you have a split screen. You can pull it up from the town website.
It wasn't this.
Yeah, that one's coming up.
Dogs should be part of our Zoom.
I think they are.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
That poor dog.
Did that come up?
Yeah. So again, if you look side by side on that versus A5, you really have a good feel for what this is.
Right. Which by the zoning code, we are allowed to put a second floor on by special permit over the existing structure. And again, what I'm saying is that we're less than 900 square feet for the whole building. We're putting like 276 square feet over a portion of this. We're keeping this down low. We're actually, if you look at the A5 print, you'll see that what we've done is we've dropped we've done a shed dormer in there in order to keep the scale of the building down.
But I would ask them anyway, so I'll just have them call you back. Or I'll
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
John's audio is off again.
go back home.
Yes. All right.
The heat in your house is on, not their house. Okay.
So,
all right.
I don't know if you wanted,
What was it, Mary? What did she say?
I don't know if John's having a
Okay.
I can't tell, really.
outside conversation.
We're in a meeting, I have to get close. And you could tell me, or and I call her back.
Maybe we need to mute John.
But then I can't tell if he's say something.
So she took time.
All right.
John, are you all set?
Yeah, I'm all set. I don't have any more questions, Pam.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public attending tonight who would like to speak to this application?
Not on camera. It doesn't work.
I'm here.
Mr. Mandel?
Just a couple quick things. That view from the east is basically from my property. I'm from the adjoining property on the east side. Couple things. First off, we greatly appreciate the cleaning up and the fixing up that's occurred over the last couple of years. The place was really an eyesore for a long time. And so that part's fantastic. When we sat through the hearing in June, we were, I think, in agreement with the committee that the plan that was put forward at that point didn't make as much sense as using a portion of the remaining property, since they have, over an acre. And I think we were somewhat surprised at this proposal, hoping that they would use the other part of the property. So that's a second thing. Third, have some concern just about the height and it interfering with view. I don't really know. Maybe I should be able to tell from the drawings, but I have some questions about how high it's going to actually be going up. I don't really know how this process works beyond having some rudimentary, common sense about things. But I for one would really like to know if there's like sort of a plan to put another second structure on the property anyway. It sounds like there may be. And so, the sequencing, it'd be good to know that. So I don't know if I'm supposed to formally object to this or just say I don't support it, but those are my concerns. We were hopeful that they'd sort of push it back into the property. We're a little concerned about it interfering with the current set of views that we've had for since we've been there since about 2006. Loading up of the property with multiple sites potentially, rather than one large building. I, of course, happy to answer any questions you have for me from any of the parties.
Would you like me to speak to that at all? Anybody? Paul?
Do you have a specific response on the, I don't know that we can speak to what the owners, we may plan some time in the future.
Well, right, yeah, that's a good point. The only thing I could add is my conversations with them, and there's not been specific talk of that, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen. But of course, within the guidelines of what's allowable by in the wetlands and zoning at that time. So right now they want to be able to have Mr. Bernie enjoy what he enjoyed as a child as a more modern structure. So I know on the drawing, I just want to add of Mike's nice drawing there with the other view from Mr. Mandel's property. It looks like a great structure, but if you think about it, it's as you look at the elevations here, it only adds, everything's exactly the same except for this elevation here. Mike, you could probably answer what the height difference is.
It's right there, 21,208.
And what is it now, Mike? Do you know? Probably roughly.
That's the height there, basically. It's probably, I'm going to say 12.
Right.
At that point.
Well,
Yes, you have, there's a
The
notation.
zoning would allow us to go to 30
being
feet.
There's a
Off
notation.
property anywhere. If you look at Mr. Mandel's house, he's obviously peaking at around 30 feet. And it appears to me, I'm not sure of this, Mandel, but how many buildings do you have on your property?
You direct your questions to the chairman, though. Okay, Mike?
Okay. My question is, can you see this picture?
No.
No.
No. Continue. Trying to grab this picture and bring it in. Hang on 1 second. I need to get her again. So not bringing it in.
Do either Mark or Dennis, do you have his pictures that you can email me?
I do not.
Pam, I don't have the photos either.
You don't, okay.
Can you bring this picture in?
This one?
It's a whole sheet. It's 410.
Yeah, we're seeing it now.
Okay. This picture is shot from this is the steps down into the water. This is our neighbor's house here that's is on the line. This is a shot from the front corner of the house where we're going to be going 2 stories. So it appears to me that as far as obstruction to the lake or anything, it doesn't exist.
Thank you.
And you can see the height of this building compared to ours. And my question is, how many structures are on this property?
Mr. Mandel, would you like to respond?
We have multiple structures on the property. We've gone to great lengths to keep in the style of the lake and not do anything that would prevent it from being visually pleasing, and we've done nothing that would possibly bother any of our neighbors. I think that it's not accurate to say that the line of sight from our property through the Bernie current property isn't in the line of sight of the lake. It is. It's right along the edge of the beginning of the third bay into the narrows between the second and third bay, which we can clearly see at present. Again, I am very, very excited and pleased that they've gone to the and begun the process of cleaning up what was pretty much a dilapidated eyesore. I hope that the committee will think about making sure that this is in the direction of what we would like to see people do on the lake, which I think is to continue to build away from the actual seawall, not continue to build up on top of it or adjacent to it.
Thank you. Mr. Gonsalves, do you have any comments or questions for the applicant? The application?
Can't hear you, but
I do not.
Thank you, sir. Okay, no other comments from the public? We will give the floor back to the applicant for a final word.
Again, what we're looking for is we're looking to remove the lower portion of the back of the structure, which is over the ground, not over the lake. We're looking at raising the building height from 12 feet to 21 feet. Zoning allows us to go to 30 feet. So we held it down as, over 8 feet below the ridge line. And the ridge line is not actually the height that you can go to. on a gable structure, it's a medium point. So we could be up higher, you know, than what we are now. And we're adding 279 feet to a structure that's around, you know, that would be less than 900 square feet, which is what is allowed as an apartment on the lake. So I think that the impact is minimum on this property to other houses that are on the lake. And it was built prior to zoning. And they have the right to have that house there, to rebuild that house on the footprint that it is and not take it up a second story. And come in and put another house on that property. There's no reason that they have to ever tear this down.
Thank you, Mr. Vogt. With that, I will close the public hearing.
Wait
on-
1 second, Phil, just
Yes.
make sure that John has no additional questions. John? I'm sorry, it's hard to tell if he's there or.
Yeah, I know.
After just looking at the picture of Mr. Mandel's house over there, and if you look at his house, you can see that it's farther away from the lake. I don't know how far away it is, but it's not right on the lake like we're having
John,
having
you're
over
not
there.
deliberating yet. It's just if you had any questions before you close the public hearing.
No, I don't have any more questions. Sorry.
Yeah, we have an opportunity to discuss this among ourselves once we close the hearing. So with that, we will close the public hearing on ZBA application 20-5257 for the special exception for 408 East Wakefield Boulevard. Any comments from the board? Any discussion, please?
So Phil, I just, in reviewing the special permit, special exception regulations, we have the ability to consider, is it a suitable location for this use? To John's point, being as close to the water as it is. And is it, you know, the existing and future character of what they call the neighborhood. Of course, at the lake, it's kind of hard to call it a neighborhood, but nonetheless, when you go around the lake and you look at the different structures, you know, I can't foresee the future, but if they were coming before the board to put up another house and keep this as a boathouse, I don't think there'd probably be a lot of objection because that fits the character. There are, as Mr. Mandel has one, there are still a few boathouses left around the lake that fit that character, but nothing that, you know, with rare exception, has these two-story structures. And if they wanted to rebuild it as a boathouse, they'd have every right to do that. But I share John's concern about the character and putting it on the water is a concern of mine.
Aubrey, Dave?
Phil, did you want to make a motion in the positive?
Yes, we should. Yeah, let me read the motion and then we can, I'm sorry, I'm messed up here. So with the motion to grant a special exception pursuant to section 3.c.4.b of the zoning regulations for application 20-5257 to allow the construction of a 28-foot 10 and 1/4 inch by 15 feet 4 1/4 inch by 20 feet 4 3/8 inch by 4 feet 11 3/4 inch, 30 feet 2 inches by 18 feet 6 inches, second floor addition per drawing submitted for the property located at East Wakefield Boulevard. May we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Now we can talk about it.
I'll go ahead and I'll make a couple comments here too, Phil, or Mr. Chairman. One being is, you know, I mean, I guess, I mean, I don't live on the lakes. I live more mainland in town here, so I guess I'm not well familiar with what the do's and don'ts. I'm under the impression, I'll just take exception to what John said about, about how, I mean, how this board is supposed to make some special, or I don't know, supposed to make the lake, different or whatever, but I'm of the understanding any zoning regulations in town is for wherever in town it is, whether it be on the lake, whether it be in town here. That's just all I'll say on that. So, I'm not too familiar with, what the objections would be being more close to the water, I guess, except for the views. These guys did come in, have their plans up. It appears these guys. I'm sorry.
Feedback.
Feedback.
Okay. I'm. It's kind of, I'm hearing that. You have a gentleman who wants to, maintain this property and come back and visit more a few times a year. That's what I'm understanding. But I also want to, adhere to what the neighbors' concerns would be too, as far as, views or being a little too close to the water. I guess I'm not sure what the big concerns would be there too. Maybe someone can help me out there as far as that goes, but I'm just, I'm seeing that these guys have come in and, submitted a proposal, answered questions, and seem to be adhering to what the regulations are. It was approved by wetlands, even though it seemed like they had questions as well too. So, I'm just making general comments as far as that goes. They're just food for thought there. So
I think, Aubrey, wetlands' job is to make sure that it's feasible not to cause damage to the lake. That's what they approve, right? They don't want the building over the lake, but their job is to make sure that it's engineered properly, drainage is proper, and there's not going to be any negative environmental impact on the lake. That's what they approve.
Okay, so whereas our job would be to basically just approve this special permit, make sure they're in conform with the regulations as far as that go, correct?
Right. Our job is, because of setbacks, because of the location to the lake, our job is to decide whether this makes sense structurally or not. Not mechanically structurally, but does it make sense to put it there? And again, as I mentioned, we've got in the special exception regs, we've got the purview to look at the character of what it's going to do to the site, as well as is it a suitable location for that site? We have that purview here.
Well, that's all I had.
Thank you, Aubrey. Mr. Carter, do you have any questions, comments to the discussion?
What I can see right now is we have a conforming, non-conforming use. What they've had since 1940, to my understanding. I can also be a little sympathetic to what the abutters are looking at as the end result. And as Paul had mentioned, all of that has to go into the whole process of a yes or no vote. And my only reservation that I have is the amount of land that they have with the ability to do this and kill two birds with one stone. But then again, the financial ramifications, although not being part of this permit, I'm sure part of the constraints that stop them from doing that. And then I'm sympathetic on what the overall reason is to do this, the beginning, to give the part of the family some quiet enjoyment for the remainder of the year. So, but we're making something much bigger and much more, I guess, profound would be the word. It's really going to stand out. So,
thank you.
I just had one more comment, if you don't mind, Phil.
Go
After hearing Mr. Mandel speak and being down there looking at his property, I definitely agree that it's gonna block his view. I can't see how it's not gonna block his view with the second floor there, and I don't really think that design is something that belongs on the edge of the lake. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. No further comments. We can call the question. All those in favor of the application, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed?
I oppose.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I'm afraid, Aubrey, you voted no?
Correct, I voted against.
Very good. Thank you. I'm sorry, gentlemen, your application does not pass. Okay. Moving on. We have no old business on the agenda. Does anyone have any corrections of fact to the minutes for November 24th?
Pam, if you would, when you were reading off the application that was in the newspaper, would you check the date on that to see if that was the 24th or the 22nd? Pam, did you hear me?
I did, but do you have any problems with the minutes?
No, it was just a clerical thing. I didn't know when you were reading through about their application.
Well, that will be in these minutes.
All right.
Okay, well, hearing no corrections, a motion to approve the minutes is in order.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second. All in favor of approving the minutes?
All right.
John?
did-
Oh,
I don't think,
you weren't there last month, right?
right.
Okay, so you abstain.
Yeah, I abstain, yes.
Okay.
Right.
Do we have any correspondence?
Yeah.
Any other business, gentlemen?
Yeah. Ooh,
No, I don't think so.
Do we want to rag on the zoning enforcement officer?
anytime.
Uh,
I'm
hearing
really,
nothing- I'm
let me
sorry.
just, I just wanted to apologize, everybody, for our last meeting. I was out at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and for some reason, the commanding general felt that there was a security leak somewhere, and he literally shut down all internet, phone, you name it. The gas pumps didn't even work. I mean, everything got shut down.
That's a rough area, Fort Sill.
If you're in the artillery, yeah, it is.
Well,
I
I'm
guess
just
the
talking Lawton, Oklahoma in general.
So Phil, is
That's
this
the
in essence
place
a-
that time forgot. No, I was out there. The governor and the commanding general, we did a burial ceremony for my granddaughter that passed from COVID on 10 July. So
Condolences.
So
Merry
Absolutely.
Christmas.
Absolutely. Condolences.
Roger that.
So, do we have a motion to adjourn? Did
So
we do
moved.
that already?
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
God bless you all. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Well,